So Ella, do you want to start with your questions?
Sure.
Okay, so you have to talk into the mic.
Hi. How do you write a song?
Well, if I knew the answer to that, it would be a whole different career for us. We every time we try and write a song, it's like a new problem to solve, and we never really know. It's really hard. We never really know exactly how to get to the end until we just work on it. And then, the next time you got to write a song, once again, it's just like a whole nother job. But it's fun. It's something we like doing a lot, luckily, because it's hard work. Did you want to talk about the bus? I think you should mention your comment about the bus, because it was the most original thing I'd heard someone say about the bus.
What did you say about the bus?
I don't want to say.
Why do you have Christmas lights up?
I don't know. We got on the bus, and then there are all these little, looks like Christmas lights everywhere. And I think that it's something that people think that bands expect when they get on a tour bus, that it's supposed to have all these little lights everywhere. I don't really know why. Do you want to comment on that, John?
I think it might be an inexpensive way to decorate a bus. Just a guess.
Right.
It isn't expensive. When you wrote Dr. Boom, I think you did a really good job.
Thank you very much. That's really nice.
It's my favorite song.
Oh, thanks a lot, Ella. I appreciate it.
What is your favorite song?
I'm eating a cookie, so I'm gonna pass that over to.
I don't think of songs like. I kind of like certain songs just in an immediate way, and then it changes. So like my favorite changes all the time. I'm trying to. Oh, what's your new favorite?
Well, it's actually the only song off our new album that we're not. We don't know how to play yet, so we're actually not. The record isn't out, and we're not playing the show. And by the time it all comes out, it might not be my favorite anymore. But the name of the song is "With the Dark," and it's on our brand new, soon to be released, grown-up record, "The Else."
What's your favorite thing about doing music?
I like that. I like being able to do so many different kinds of creative things. I guess my favorite thing about being in a band is that you get to write songs, and you get to play concerts, and you get to travel, and when you're making the album, you work with like visual artists, and you can make DVDs and do visual stuff, and it's kind of a being in a band is like a very nice way to be a writer and an artist and a creative person. It's just a lot of different things at the same time. So that's my favorite. That's why I like being in a band. But I can't remember what the original question was.
What do you like best about doing music?
What do you best about doing music? I like being in a band. That's the best thing about being in music.
You also get to have the Christmas.
Yeah, and the Christmas lights are like frosting on the cake.
Yeah.
Well, I like it's a kind of a good challenge for me. What do I like best about it? I guess I like the challenge. I like the fact that it isn't a simple job. It's a complicated job, and it's a job that we have to keep thinking all the time about what we're doing and coming up with a new way to do it and keeping it interesting, and it helps if we're hard on ourselves. That makes us like what we're doing more.
Kids radio show, so it seems like a good question to ask. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Well, I remember what I used to say, and I can't remember why I thought these things. At one point, I for some reason wanted to be a teacher, and I can't remember why. Something my mom just reminded me of. And
Mom a teacher?
Yeah, that may have been part of it. I think she did teach part-time, actually, before then. And then for a while I was a cartoonist. I wasn't sure if that was a real job, though.
Are you sure of that
I know it's a job now, yeah, but I didn't choose that one. John?
I was so bad at school. I just was trying to get through that. I was too nervous about the immediate future to think too much about my future. I guess when I was kind of interested. I was obsessed with graphic design as a kid, in a way that a lot of people, I guess,
Most kids don't know what graphic design is.
Yeah, and so I guess maybe that was just like the most natural extension of a very specific interest of mine, and I could see how I would end up being a graphic designer. I still think about graphic design more than a lot of other things.
Ella, do you know what graphic design is?
No. No.
You want to try and explain it?
Well, graphic design is a bunch of different things. When you're working on the computer and you're making like the you're making the type bigger and smaller on the page. That's like the fundamental part of graphic design. And then if you're a graphic designer, you end up kind of dedicating your whole life to making photographs and type look interesting together.
Like an example is that somebody has the job of making those letters on the t-shirt, the shape they are and the colors they are and the size they are, and they think about that really hard, and they try and make it look good and interesting, and also make it work. In other words, make people see the part that they're supposed to see. Yeah, same thing with your shirt. Somebody, and I'm not sure who it was. Yes, exactly. Who did that t-shirt?
I'm trying to remember her name. It was the only job we ever did with her. She did these it looks kind of like HR Puffin stuff, kind of illustrate. They're actually photographs. They're very crazy looking objects. I like that shirt a lot. A lot of people, I think, were put off by how thick the ink was on it, but I think the actual illustration is really, really cool.
I don't care about the ink. I have another question.
Okay.
Did or did not Helen Keller have good table manners?
I don't know. I think didn't she learn good table manners? She started out with bad table manners, and she had an extremely good teacher who communicated with her, even though she was blind and deaf, and then she learned good table manners, among other things, I guess. Right? She learned a lot of important stuff.
What was one of the worst things that she did to a teacher?
Helen Keller did? I don't know. Do you want to field that one, John?
I think you might know the answer to the question. What's the answer?
Okay.
She broke 2 of her teeth.
Really? To her teachers?
Yeah.
Wow. Can I ask you something, Ella?
What?
Have you ever broken your teacher's teeth?
No. What was the name of her teacher?
Her teacher's name was Ann Sullivan, right? Good, very good.
You have at least one more band-related question.
I knew the answer.
2 points for John Linnell.
Yeah, I think.
That was good.
2 more.
Okay.
3 more. Okay. What was your favorite gig?
That's a great question, John.
When we first started playing, we played at this place called Dorinka, and it was this very small place, not unlike the Iron Horse, and those were just very fun shows. They were just, I think, in a lot of ways, when we first started, we weren't playing. We didn't get to play for very long. We didn't get to do that long. We didn't get to do long shows. So playing at Dorinka, we got to play longer shows, and that was more fun. We actually kind of developed our style as a band more. So those are kind of my favorite shows. We played there a lot. We played there every month for like a year or something like that. So we did a lot of shows there. That was my favorite gig.
Favorite gig. That's a hard one, because we had a lot of least favorite gigs, which are easier to remember because there are always these problems. Least favorite gig. Now I walked right into that one. I got to think of what it is. There was.
I was St. Louis like 3 months ago.
That was terrible. It was one of the coldest gigs we've ever played. There was a show we did in Florida where I felt so sick that we couldn't finish. And that wasn't, I mean, it was almost not even a show. It was almost not a gig, really. It was just terrible. I was feeling so sick that we played 2 songs, then I sat down on the drum riser and couldn't get up. And John Flansburgh thought I was mad at him, that I was fed up with playing in the band, and he didn't realize I was actually like about to pass out. It was you know,
that was the end of the run.
It was terrible.
I guess we're breaking.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually have a follow-on question.
Okay.
What's the weirdest lineup for a gig you've had? Like either you opening for somebody very odd, or somebody odd opening for you, or a festival where you're, I don't know, right after Anne Murray or something like that.
Oh, you know, we did this German festival called the Lords of Independence Festival. That was basically a celebration of kind of like very heavy metal, like black metal, and and goth stuff. It's like a 3-day industrial goth metal festival, and we were booked without any reference point to play on this thing. And you know, my thought was that you know, we were just, because we were on an independent label, that we were just being booked because we were another part of the indie rock world. But the reality was we were kind of being thrown to the wolves as a preamble to the heaviest of the heavy bands. And this is like a very typical thing that they did at this festival. It was kind of a setup where often like they would get some band with a irresponsible booking agent that would book them by accident, and then they would, you know, usually get like pelted with beer and booed off the stage. Yeah, it was very it's very awkward, but we actually did fine. We did perfectly well with the crowd, which was I was told afterwards was both to their surprise and not what they were looking to have happen.
Well, I thought of one other really odd show, which was that stadium show. I think it was Rice, where we were. It was a 4th of July performance, and we were on a bill with a Beatles sound-alike group, the band Chicago, and
that was outside of Salt Lake City.
Yeah, right at Rice University, and
Rice University.
Wasn't it Rice? Oh, okay. Well, it wasn't Rice then. It was whatever. Maybe the stadium was made of rice. Anyway, they also had an act called Frisbee Dog, and it was just a dog running around catching frisbees. And then I think the whole thing ended with this sort of F-11 fighter jets flying overhead, and it was just, it's very hard to describe, I think, what was so weird about it. But we felt like we really, either we didn't fit in, or we were just as weird as everything else.
Just to give you an idea of the kind of show it was all, it was based on Jimmy Osmond's 4th of July pageant that they have in Salt Lake City, and they're basically deciding to do it in the stadium south of Salt Lake City. And the guy who had this idea to promote this show, the promoter, arrived at the beginning of the day with his wife. They're both wearing matching red, white, and blue sweaters on the 4th of July, a very warm day. But it was, you know, the way that they could show how completely into it they were. He was very much like Fred Willard. Oh, yeah. Very specifically like Fred Willard. Yeah, exactly. So, that was kind of, he was our introduction to the day of pageantry.
I have 2 more.
Okay, very good.
What was your favorite CD?
Favorite CD?
Of ours or of anyone's?
Of anyone's, right? Or of ours. Ooh, geez. Boy. I don't know. That, again, you know, I think I have to give the same answer that John gave, which is our favorites always change because we listen to one, or we don't really listen to our CDs that much, but we get used to the songs off one, and then suddenly another one seems really appealing.
Right now, John.
I'll tell you. My favorite They Might Be Giants CD right now is the lesser-known middle period CD, Factory Showroom, which we were just talking about doing a show to promote, you know, to sort of sell more tickets. And our usual thing is we play our third album, Flood, in its entirety. We play the whole album in sequence. And so we were thinking, well, what else could we do? And then I was thinking Factory Showroom, but of course people wouldn't probably pay extra to go see that. It's just not as popular a record as Flood is. But you would. So, right, exactly. Anyway, so Factory Showroom, that's my answer. What about yours?
I was going to say Factory Showroom.
You could say the same.
I don't know. Our very first album seems very far away to me now. So, and it's like, I mean, we recorded it, 20 years ago or something, and it just, it almost seems like other people, or it seems like it's from outer space to me. So it's exciting to hear, this kind of very crazy, different version of us. So I like the first album because it's so distant.
Our next one's pretty good.
Our next one's good.
You said 20 years ago.
Our next one's pretty distant.
Of thinking about it's 20 years now, right? Over 20 years.
Well, we're 25 years now. Yeah.
Okay. So of the bands, not necessarily bands you've played with, but certainly including those, like the bands that have broken up over that time period, who do you wish was still around?
You mean all of the bands?
Some of them are still, Pixies back together, sort of.
Right.
But of them, who do you most wish was still together and touring?
Oh, I'm not even sure. Sometimes I'm not even sure if it's better that bands stay together or not. I think, when you talk to as many people who work in record stores as I have, you kind of hear the idea that bands should, break up, early and not ruin it.
That's certainly true for lots.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think of bands that, I don't know. Can you think of?
I mean, this band formed before we did. I don't know if that counts, but I often wish that television had stayed together at least a little longer, because they obviously had more good records in them, and they broke up way too early. So that was a good band. Television.
Who do you think should have broken up? It hasn't.
They know who they are.
All right, Ellie, you want to ask your last question, and then
What was your favorite question?
Of today?
Of the ones I've asked.
Yeah, that's easy. I think it was the second Helen Keller one about breaking the teeth. That was my favorite, John.
I think all the Helen Keller questions were really good. I think you should develop a whole line of Helen Keller questions.
I learned all of those questions from one book. You're lucky that I didn't ask you about Nellie Bly.
Oh, let's talk about Nellie Bly. John wants to talk about Nellie Bly.
Okay. Okay. What article changed her life?
What article changed Nellie Bly's life?
That she wrote?
No, like someone else.
That she read that changed her life. I don't know. I've got a question about Nellie Bly for you, though. Who is her boss?
I don't know.
Okay.
So
it's 1-to-1. So
What's the Nellie Bly side?
all right. Do you have another question about Nellie Bly? Maybe you can win the
tiebreaker question. Last question about Nellie Bly.
Who did she threaten?
Well, she threatened male journalists.
All of us.
Who did she threaten? Male journalists. She people who ran sweatshops.
No, nothing. That
Well, I think those are accurate answers.
Yeah, but not that.
She threatened people who ran mental institutions of New York. She threatened.
I think you got to give this. I'm giving you a lot of answers.
She.
What do you have? Let's answer your thing.
The person who wrote the article that changed her life.
Oh, so that's going to start getting. You didn't know about the article, so why don't you talk about what the article was?
The article said what women are good for, and it was that they should do jobs that in houses and raise children.
And that wasn't true.
Yeah, and she wrote a note to him and signed a Lonely Orphan Girl, and then she found another article that said that they were going to send someone around the world, and then she threatened to make another newspaper center around the world and said that if that one didn't.
All right, thank you, guys.
And her boss was Pulitzer. I just wanted to tell you.
I didn't know that.
I know the Pulitzer. Yeah, the Pulitzer Prize. That was her.
Well, there you go.